Want to see how I construct a long jump technical session? Well, that's what you're going to see just here as I take you step by step through the drills and practices which I use in order to develop in particular a great takeoff. As I say in many of my videos, getting a great takeoff is crucial for the long jump. It's what you do before the board that sets you up for the flight phase and gives you ultimately optimum distance. Getting a takeoff drive, which means holding your takeoff position off of the board, can give you 20 to 40 centimeters, potentially more. Why is that the case? Well, you clear more distance from the board by holding position. That means that your mid-air actions take place later in the flight phase, and that pushes the landing further into the pit. I'm going to start with the meat and drink of the session. We would have done some warm-up drills, some lower intensity movements before we go on to the takeoff drills that you're seeing at the moment. Now these utilize a low platform, 6 to 8 centimeters high, and it's done at a low speed intensity as I want the jumpers to get a feeling of what's required. We can also do lots and lots of reps, so again we're going to cement into their minds the movement patterns that are required. Speaking of which, there's a need to get down off of the platform as quickly as possible onto a flat foot with minimal knee bend. Now, of course, because you're coming from the platform, the knee is going to bend, but I tell the jumpers to minimize that knee bend. If they think about a straight leg, the chances are it's going to be straighter as opposed to if I told them to slightly bend the knee. So on contact on that nearly straight leg, flat-footed, then drive into the takeoff step to create a lot of speed into the takeoff. The combination of those movements should enable the free thigh to really penetrate forwards off of the takeoff and be held. Now, after doing the penultimate step takeoff drill, we transferred over to the pit and utilised 2 mats, put on the 3rd step out and on the takeoff. Now this is to create the speed through the takeoff, very similar to the first drill. However, because you're only coming down from a couple of centimeters and then rising a couple of centimeters for the takeoff, it's able to be done much more quickly, but you still employ the same mechanics. Step quickly from step 3 to step 2 and equally quickly into step number 1. Go flat-footed on the penultimate, flat-footed on the takeoff, carry the speed through, and you can see that the jumpers were developing good takeoff mechanics through doing this particular drill as well. Some of the group performed some jumps from a shorter approach, whilst Ignatius, who we're going to focus on in this particular part of the video, utilised his full run-up. Now, there is a big speed step between the drill and the actual jumps to the pit, so it takes a little while to groove that in. Now, I would normally start from a shorter approach at the pit when transferring the penultimate step takeoff drill into actual jumping. But in this case we didn't have so much time due to an impending competition, so we went for it from the start. Now it took him a while to get the step movement, the patterning. Now you can see on screen I put some markers down by the side of the pit. Now these indicate where he should hold his drive, where he should get into the middle of his hitch kick and where he should ultimately land. They are not to be seen by the jumper as he'll be travelling too fast in order to reference them as he flashes past. But they do sow into the jumper's minds the seeds of the need to almost tackle the jump in thirds. A third for the takeoff, a third for the central portion and the hitch kick high post position, and a third for the landing position. This helps to break down the necessary components of the flight phase and ultimately enable the jumper to get that optimum distribution of effort. Over the years, whilst utilising mats, I've found that they can really be beneficial to improving the long jump takeoff. You've got to run through them as if they're not there. Now, the coach does need to tell the athlete, the jumper, what the objective is, but once preliminary advice is given, really it is a case of just moving quickly through the mats, and invariably the takeoff, a good takeoff, will result. Run-up length is adjusted according to the time of the season. So as we're into the indoor season at the time of making this video, we'll be looking at 8 to 12 to 14 steps for the utilisation of the mats in this particular way. Well, I hope the overview of this particular training session will help you construct your own similar training session so you can see what the components are and how you put them together to hopefully transition and transfer the learning from higher intensity to higher intensity to higher intensity, from less specificity to more specificity, and so on. This video does follow on from the one I made previously at the time of making this one, where that particular video had 5 of my top long jump takeoff drills included within it. So please do reference that video as well, as that will give you further ideas and drills. If you have any specific questions on the subject matter of this particular video, or indeed any of my others, then do leave a comment in the section below or through my other social media. And please do consider becoming a channel member. For example, for just $1.99 a month or £1.99 a month, you can help support the channel. You can find out more about the particular offers, not only as a channel supporter, but as a coach athlete member, by heading over to the channel's homepage and clicking on the membership button.